I'm probably in quite a unique position. Everybody who works for the business can donate 20 to 23% of their contracted hours to be able to go and focus on charitable initiatives.
How do you measure productivity?
Don't think you necessarily need to offer a 4-day working week to be able to be flexible. The idea with it is kind of use it or lose it within a working week. Yeah, you know what? It's been quite a journey.
This podcast is brought to you by Pragmatic Solutions, the leading iGaming PAM platform with a modular approach, including many benefits like a fast, secure, and scalable API-based platform, integrated with all major third-party products and services. Make sure you head over to Pragmatic Solutions and join our smart thinking.
This podcast is brought to you by Pragmatic Play, a leading game developer providing player favorites to the most successful brands across the industry. With an award-winning multi-product portfolio of slots, live casino, bingo, virtual sports, and more, Pragmatic Play is powering up new possibilities of play through one single API. Visit pragmaticplay.com and discover your favorite every time.
Cordelia Morgan Cooper, you are back in my studio. How are you?
I'm really good, thanks. And Heidi, thanks so much for having me.
We spoke, what is it, like 1.5 years ago, something like that. On the unlimited vacation days.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rocks. Now you sit in Cyprus, Cordelia, and you founded CMC Consulting. And I remember we spoke a lot about it in the beginning, and how is life turning out? I moved to Gotland sort of around the same time. Now you're employing 5 people as well. Like, what happened to Cordelia? How are you?
Yeah, you know what? It's been quite a journey, I think, from setting up the business. I had an initial idea. I was actually out swimming one morning and thought that maybe I would see if I went out on my own how it would be. And it's just been phenomenal. The clients that I partnered with pretty much from the first Sigma Dubai are the clients that have stayed with me ever since. And it's just been fantastic to be able to be supporting them on their growth journeys and for us to be kind of working together because I'm also, on my growth journey as well.
Exactly. And so am I. So is kind of everyone, right?
Yeah.
Everyone that didn't give up.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So from one island to another, I want to use you because you have a history in recruitment, both as employed with previous employers in companies, but also you consult as an HR. So that combination makes me think you are kind of well-rounded in terms of knowing what's out there. What are the trends, maybe specifically around benefits?
Yeah, and I think, just like you said, I think I'm probably in quite a unique position because not only am I recruiting, but I'm also brought on board to act as, HR managers for a number of different businesses, small businesses under kind of 20, 30 employees. I've also got a client who's in the games development sphere, so within gaming still, but of course a very different aspect to iGaming. And then also businesses that are reaching more of a mature state, so, 100, 150, 200 employees. And then we're also working on a number of retained projects, supporting them with their recruitment and then their HR needs too.
Nice. This is like a very fast-paced way for you to learn. Like everything that you learn in the 150 scale employees, you can quickly sort of adapt it to the ones that are growing into that size kind of.
Yeah. I think it's great that I'm brought on board as a partner to the businesses. We figure things out together. There are no two human issues which are sometimes the same. So for us to be able to look at those challenges and to be able to work on them together is something that I really enjoy.
And here you are with me. And I want to hear specifically, because this question came up and it's a constant question since, first everyone was working 5 days a week-ish from the office. Then there was remote. Now we're talking about how many days are we actually going to work. Yeah. First there was flexible working, obviously. And I know that you have experience with clients that actually do offer or operate, I don't know what's the best word to use here, but with a 4-day work week.
Yes, exactly. So one of my clients, Tag Media, a huge shout out to Tom Galanis. He's fantastic. He is a real visionary within this area, and he decided that all that we don't have in our lives is more time, and to be able to give people more time, that's probably the greatest gift you can give anybody. Flexibility, of course, is something which is super important, but it's time that we really value. And so we are working towards, and we are kind of part of, a 4-day work week. So everybody who works for the business can donate 20 to 23% of their contracted hours, roughly, to be able to go and focus on charitable initiatives. So it really can be anything. It can be something super high level. It can also be something, you know, taking your elderly neighbour out for a walk, helping them with their Friday shopping. It doesn't necessarily have to be established charities, but it's more about the things that we can do to make the world a better place. So we've had such a mix. We've got one of our team, she works a couple of times a week at an animal shelter in Malta, taking the dogs out for walks, which is something which, you know, the animals obviously love, but it's something which is really, really important for them and their reintegration into hopefully being able to find a forever home. And we also then have people who do more ad hoc projects. It could be supporting elderly people, people who aren't able to help themselves so much in the community, children in orphanages as well. I was also supporting teaching yoga in an old people's home. I'm not sure how much teaching I was doing, but it was great to get them, you know, out of their chairs and a little bit more movement, and to encourage them to be able to feel confident with moving a little bit more than what they've been used to.
In a world that is in one way getting a bit lonelier and lonelier.
Yeah.
In terms of technology, people stay in their houses. All right. So what I'm hearing is basically, instead of you lying, slouching on your sofa for those 25%, you're actually sort of contributing to society. Okay. Should I go sort of detaily, like, are there clawbacks? Are people still getting full pay?
Yes, they are. And really the idea with it is kind of use it or lose it within a working week. You're not really accruing the hours. It's more that those hours you would then, I'm spending these hours because I'm working on, it's called this year's rule. So of course, we want to drive high performance, and potentially for somebody just joining the business, it might not make sense for them to use this year's rule immediately. But the idea is that the time allocated is there, and that if people want to, there will be no questions around it. It would just be exciting to then have a bit of an update. So we have a Slack channel where people can update with photos, also with videos, with what they've been, out and about doing. And it's really great to see that with, such a diverse remote workforce, that we're also able to gain engagement there, because people are chatting with each other about, the ideas and what they've been supporting with.
Before we talked about this, we also watched this sort of World Economic Forum kind of, they send whatever countries are doing that is benefits for the ecosystem. Yeah. And when it comes to this trial that they were referring to, 4 days, they were saying, obviously, work-life balance improved, people were healthier, people were happier, people spent much more time with family, with their children, which made them happy. So marriages stayed for longer. But there was also sort of the backside of it. Alcohol, people start partying because they're, more free time, happy partying, could be, but the alcoholism goes up. But what I'm sort of taking from this initiative is, you're not going home drinking on your sofa, you're actually going out
and about.
Animals with older people, with wherever you can help.
Yes. Yeah. And look, there would be some support that people could probably do from home. Could they volunteer at the Samaritans, for example, and do online phone calls supporting people? Yeah, they could. But the idea here is to get people out and about, spreading kindness in the community, whatever that looks like to them. And I think what's really interesting here is there aren't linked KPIs to who's doing what and how it works. It's evolved organically. And, we have some people in the team who go twice a week, every week. We have others that maybe go once a week, once a month. If somebody wants to go just once a month, once a quarter, again, that's no problem, but they have the time there in case they want to.
How do you measure productivity? Because obviously there is then 20-25% less work being done. This is fact that is, is it really? But you remove 1 day of working. How do you measure productivity?
So really the way as well with this year's rule is that it's been kind of rolled out is that it's not linked to a specific day. So for example, if you wanted to take 2 hours each morning, then that would work. And that would probably help you to be able to be more productive. In general, the team, they work really hard. So when it comes to performance, that hasn't been something that's needed to be addressed. But of course, as we continue to grow, it's something that would need to be looked at if there were potentially performance issues. But, I think it's important to say that not everybody in the team is able to give up that time because maybe they have a busy family life, and actually spreading kindness is taking their own daughter out for a walk. That also can count as this year's rule. It doesn't have to be groundbreaking and, you're flying on a plane somewhere to go and help someone. Kindness also starts at home, and it's whatever it looks like to the individual.
I see. I was watching a few TED Talks on the topic, and obviously, like the difficulty sort of convincing management. Tom is obviously convinced. I think he was the one that brought the idea. But convince your management of this. You make people happy. Like, yes, there is this fundamental, fantastic thing that you do for people that lead a better lives. And obviously the smart ones understand that this will lead to, better retention and better productivity. But for the quick, actual fact results, this one guy that I was looking at, I can't remember his name. He was also the founder and CEO of his company. And he was saying that, I spoke to Gerd about this a few days ago as well, saying, when you go to the office 5 days a week and you're constantly, as you are, specifically if you sit in an open landscape, constantly being disturbed by the plumber calling, someone sort of tapping your back saying, can you just have a look at them? Yeah. It's like you lose 10% of your IQ. I don't know where he would get this from, you'll be working under the influence of marijuana.
Yeah.
So by reducing the days of work, and you actually commit to talking to the plumber and all the private stuff outside of these then 4 days of work, you actually produce more.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point, but I think it also probably comes down to how flexible a business is in their day-to-day operations. So I don't think you necessarily need to offer a 4-day working week to be able to be flexible. I have clients where people will need to book holiday if they need to take certain amount of time off. I have others, within my business, I'm very flexible. You have a doctor's appointment, that's fine. Whenever you want to get the work done and you're able to, I just need the work to be done. And, if I take my business as an example, as a recruitment business, we never sleep, as in the business is 24/7, because we recruit for businesses that are in very different time zones to us. In which case, if you're working 9 to 5, you're also not going to be able to speak to the candidates that you need to. So some of my team will work later, but start later. And I think it's all about, as a business, if you're starting out, what type of a company do you want to be, and then building it around that, having values and having, morals that are important to you as a company. For me, being flexible is something which is really important, and it's something that I really valued in my previous companies. So it would make sense that I would continue to kind of try and push that wherever I can within my company.
I think the value and the moral thing, that's where he was getting at in this TED Talk. The fact that where he would otherwise sit and sort of text, they were looking at a house, this couple, they were sending text links to new properties. And now he would go, no, because my company sort of offers this fantastic way of working, I'm going to, by himself, not have a look at those properties while I'm at work. Now, this becomes my sort of, not question to you, but discussion point. So here we have an existing workforce, right? Yeah. Now we're introducing this, we're rolling this out, and everyone goes, wow, this is amazing. 1 full day of extra off. Flexibility or not on the other days at work, but this 1 day extra is for us only. Yeah. This existing workforce is appreciating what's being given. And they all go, less social media, less looking at new properties, less personal plumbing calls, etc. What about the, few years down the line, and this is the way we operate. What about new candidates? What about the ones coming in that are already, expecting this to be? Are they coming in sort of continue their social media, their Facebooking, their property looking?
I think, look, if we purely look at the gaming industry, I think we could also admit that before COVID, a lot of businesses quite spoilt their employees. If we look at the benefits that were out there, and then COVID came and businesses, a lot of them had to scale back or they had to make changes. And those then were reflected in the years afterwards. I think that there will always be employees that want more. And as a business, there are certain limitations to what you can offer. But, I do truly believe that a happy workforce is a more engaged workforce. And if you're able to get more engagement from your employees, then you're also, of course, going to get much higher productivity. Look, the 4-day working week, let's be honest, it wouldn't work for everyone. There are many different options of ways it can be done. Are you doing 5 days of work in 4 days? That means 4 pretty long days. And are you still then being paid fully? Or if you're being paid 4 days to do 4 days work, so you're then potentially taking a salary cut, that also wouldn't suit some people. So I think it's also about the type of business that is looking to maybe pilot this, looking at whether they're ready as a business. If I think of when, I helped Cafe Rocks and we rolled out unlimited vacation, there was a lot there that we needed to prepare internally to get ready for that. And I think that it would be foolish of a business to just launch straight into a 4-day working week. You have to get people ready, you have to get people accountable, and you have to people prepared that if it's not working as a business, then maybe that as a benefit will go away.
What other benefits are out there?
Wow.
The rest of us don't know, and now you're gonna, reveal it.
Yeah, look, I've seen a lot when it comes to increasing around maternity, paternity. If you look at the UK versus Malta, there's a lot more that the UK can do. There are a lot of businesses that are looking to standardise between the two to make them more equal, because in Malta, of course, there is extra and additional benefits. I think when it comes to remote working, it's still such a hot topic. We've seen businesses that had gone fully remote, they're now going back to the office. I'm seeing a couple of my clients working on a hybrid work model where like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they're in the office, Monday, Friday, they're out. So it is flexible, but it's flexible up to a certain point. That seems to work really well. People really enjoy going into the office. So for them, that works. But again, within all companies, it's difficult to say. And I think when it comes to new benefits, the best way to see what people want is to just ask. There are many different survey options, all hands meetings. There are a lot of different ways to be able to ask these questions, because some people, they don't want a gym membership. They might prefer to have that money allocated elsewhere. And I think what we will see in the coming years is a more flexible approach to benefits, that you almost get a pool of 250, 500, whatever it is, quarterly, annually, and that can then be allocated in a number of different ways. Whether you want it to be put towards like a bicycle scheme. If you're in London, for example, there are lots of different ways that this can be done, because if you look at standard benefits, if I look at at Katina, when we had the gym benefit and the health benefit, it wasn't used always, and it wasn't used by everyone. And that money could then be allocated to something else that maybe people might want to use more of.
Exactly. Depending on who you are and where you are in life.
Yeah.
It's like a pick and mix box of candy. Like, do you want the insurance and the safe options, or do you want the breakfast burrito every morning? Yeah. Nice. All right. Cool. There you go. What else is there? Time. I'm sort of getting all these mixed. So we were talking about remote working, and I'm reading this book now, and it's an American book. And the guy who works in a shop, supermarket, he knows that he needs to sort of clock out if he's going to go out smoking, which is obviously, this is unheard of in the gaming industry. However, and smoking is not very common these days, or at least in my surroundings, it's a bit out, it's past. However, those people that do smoke, they get extra time. is still a question. So I'm thinking, how is that? We might put ourselves into wormholes in terms of how do we keep track of everything?
Yeah.
We're going to have a policy about if you smoke, if you don't smoke, you get an extra day of vacation, for instance, as an incentive. How do we do that working remotely? Like how should businesses approach different ways of living? Do you understand what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, there are some countries, I read a study, I think it might be in Japan, that if you don't smoke, you get given an extra like 4 or 5 days holiday as an incentive. I think, look, it's a great incentive to encourage people to be healthier, and I'm all for that. But I think also if you have the flexibility to work remotely, what's the difference between having a cigarette break and putting your laundry on? You know, it's of time. So I think it also comes down to, as long as you're productive, if you're working in a remote setting and you can complete all the work that you need to, whether you start at 8 and you have a stand up and then you go and exercise or whatever it is, and you start your morning and then you kind of properly start at 10 and maybe you work through until 6 or 7. I think it's this flexibility of when you get your work done. I think that that's something which we'll continue to see as a trend, but kind of as more of a norm. That, you know, if you, in some teams, if you're able to do some work on a Saturday, for example, and you needed to finish earlier on a Friday because you need to pick your daughter up from school, something like that, I think that we'll see more of, as long as you get your work done, it doesn't really matter the configuration of your hours. And that's how I am with my team. Of course, it doesn't make sense for them to be working Saturdays, Sundays, and then taking 3 days off, 2 days off during the week. But if it makes sense for them to speak to a candidate on a Saturday because he or she is available, then of course come in later on a Monday. And again, if they're traveling for a conference, then feel free that you're able to then take that time.
Responsibility comes to mind here. And I go, if we give employees the freedom of flexibility, how long time? Yeah. I'm also referring back to me. I am not, the all-knowing person here. I only found out yesterday that, oh my God, working late in the evening, which I've sworn to myself not to do anymore. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Jesus Christ, I am so productive at after 9 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah. Considering people's home setups, sometimes starting early in the morning, if you have young children, maybe they're still asleep, or if you're working later in the evening and the children have already gone to bed, that can mean less distractions, which means that you can kind of blast through a fair amount of work. But I think really, if we look at like a balanced work day, you need to have a certain amount of time that is distraction free. And if we look at the old model of working in an office, if you were distracted by your colleagues, you could probably go and lock yourself away in, one of the meeting rooms. If you're working from home, it can be hard. You've got the electrician arriving. You then have your food being delivered. It's kind of constant small distractions that can prevent you from really completing a task. So I think also if you're working remotely, it's about setting that discipline. And as we've spoken about before, working remotely, it doesn't suit everybody. I have people who feel really lonely and disengaged when they work from home, but for others, they feel that really it's the best way to get to get the best out of them. So I think as well, it's this one size fits all. That's not a model which really we will see continuing. It's about tailoring the approach. Of course, you can't tailor an approach to 500 employees and everybody has a different one, but you need to try and find something that works for most people and then work around that.
Cordelia, what I take with me from today is more insights on the 4-day work weekend, and also the pick and mix. You choose your own benefits, kind of. I like that.
Absolutely. And I think that, there will be new groundbreaking benefits that we start to see within technology industry for sure, that will then start to be piloted, and then maybe they start to kind of trickle into gaming. But I think it's this flexibility and the pick and mix setup that I think will help businesses, navigate the pretty tricky environment that everyone's facing right now. If you look around the gaming industry at the moment, there are a lot of changes, some positive ones, but of course some ones that they're not so positive. And it's all about how businesses can get the most out of their people to, you know, navigate the storm that some companies are going through right now.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Changes are coming.
Yes.
And when there are new trends from other industries, you will be here and tell us.
I will be indeed.